Hi, welcome to the channel. So what I thought I would do today is reintroduce myself. As you can see, the channel name is Matthew Mele Gray. That's me. And so I want to, first of all, thank you for joining me here. I really do appreciate that. I want to thank my family, my friends, and supporters and curious ones who have come onto the channel. I've realized that there is a matter that I need to make very, very clear and perhaps even repeat. And so I want to share with you my experience inside specifically the Jehovah's Witness religion and why I believe it's not just a spiritual matter that I'm raising, but it is an ethical and legal one that affects public safety. Very important matter. So I'm going to explain a few concepts which are unique to being immersed in that religion. So it's got its own jargon, and those who are familiar with the religion, they may be able to pick up on it, but if you are not familiar with some of the jargon and terminology, it might go over your head. All right. But let me make a start on what I want to clarify for persons who are familiar with the religion. So let me make it quite simple, or try to. Please bear with me. Again, I say errors and omissions accepted. I endeavor to make my testimony as truthful as possible, much like an affidavit, except this is a video presentation. So yeah, there may be mistakes that creep in. That is not my intention to try and mislead anybody in any way. My intention is to be as truthful as I possibly can, because that's what's going to help people. So if there is some kind of flaw, please feel free to point it out and I will endeavor to correct it or ask questions so that I may refine and make the presentation better, with the interest of helping community, helping persons that have come into the particular problem that is being highlighted in these discussions, in these videos. We really want to, or my intention really is, to try and help protect people to the extent possible. If they want to be a sincere, genuine Jehovah's Witness, then they may do that in a protected way. If a person has a different belief, then of course then that also needs to be respected and protected as well. That is the right that persons have with free speech and in being able to practice a religion or not. We want to have just safe community, and that's what this is all about. So please approach this video presentation with, I say, thesis, antithesis for the purpose of synthesis. In other words, have essential critical thinking and a healthy skepticism when going through this information. So I hope that that is a responsible disclaimer that is beneficial for anybody that is approaching this in an academic and fair way. So my personal testimony is that I became one of the anointed, a Jehovah's Witness anointed Christian, in 1985. And so I can talk about the material that I was exposed to. It was a book that was blue in color, and it was referred to as the United in Worship book. That is Watchtower material, or Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of New York and Pennsylvania, material that is produced for the purpose of spiritual instruction and for the purpose of creating a religious structure, a theocracy that is ruled by God as defined in the Jehovah's Witness religion. Now you'll hear me getting quite deliberate in certain words and phrases because the religion has a lot of legal terminology, like I said, that can go over the heads of most people. It's a way that the religion is unique to itself in that it has its own definitions of words, which is explained through Bible study, through the use of literature that comes through the publishing arm of Watchtower. And when I say Watchtower, I mean Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of New York and Pennsylvania, because there are other watchtowers which you'll see in other videos are separate to those entities in Pennsylvania and New York, or those instrumentalities that are used to distribute that religious material. There's even a watchtower that uses exactly the same material, but it is disassociated from Watchtower, Pennsylvania and Watchtower, New York. This is some of the complex history that goes back to 1948, at least, where in South Africa, Watchtower was explained to South African government as being very different to Watchtower, Pennsylvania and Watchtower, New York's legal instrumentalities that Jehovah's Witnesses or International Bible Students Association use. So I've mentioned that I was presented with that information in 1985, and I was of the mind that I understood or comprehended in myself that I was one of Christ's brothers. I was in Christ's covenant as a direct invitation through reading that material, saying, I make a covenant with you for a kingdom. And I was told, yes, this is the voice of God himself through the printed material. And so I exercised faith and belief in that statement that this was the covenant arrangement that applied to me. I had that belief tested among top tier persons in the religion, where I was subjected to very sensitive, very probing questions about that anointing, and there was a document that I produced and signed and allowed to be distributed as a test. I was under test to prove my apostleship, or to prove my anointing, because among Jehovah's Witness society, that is a very big deal. It is key towards the spiritual government, or towards the spiritual theocracy under Christ's kingdom that Jehovah's Witnesses are all about, and is key to the message of preaching throughout the planet that it presents. But it's also a very controversial thing, because it can be tied up with questions of legitimacy, such as, are you ambitious for things that you shouldn't have? Because being one of the anointed is a very elite position, apparently. Forget the fact that it comes with a whole heap of problems, but this is the society of people in Jehovah's Witnesses who go, oh, yeah, you are looking towards something very ambitiously. And there's an implication that that ambition is egotistical. Or there's the idea that you have a mental health problem, that you have some form of schizophrenia or some kind of mental imbalance. Instead of embracing that the person is speaking truthfully and having to take courage to take on a title that actually is a very, very hard way of life. Doesn't have much honor among the society of people in being truthful and honest about it. And then there's something else that comes up with claiming to be one of the anointed or to be in this covenant arrangement with Christ. And that is that there could also be the idea that a person who claims to be of the anointed is influenced by churches of Christendom or religions of Christendom, which is presented as false. So to make it simple, somebody who claims to be anointed like myself often comes under tremendous scrutiny and tremendous ridicule, hazing, I've mentioned in other videos, but it just isn't popular. And when I was anointed, I remember having well-meaning Christians say to me, Matt, for goodness sake, don't reveal this. We can see you're sincere in your belief. You're convincing in your belief. You may have even convinced yourself of this. And you may have created your own kind of illusion. But even if that is not the case, we love you tremendously, and we feel that this claiming to be of the anointed class is not going to work in your favor. It's not going to work for credibility, and we actually fear that there are elements within our religious society that are going to endeavor to destroy you. And so I've lived with that kind of burden for years, decades, since 1985. After reading this Watchtower material saying, I make a covenant with you for a kingdom. And so, yeah, I have not just that occurred in print, but I also have very personal spiritual experiences, if you want to call them mystical, if you want to call them awakenings, whatever it is, however you want to frame it. In my own life, in my own examination, I've looked at it and I go, this ticks all the boxes without a doubt. I knew that in 1985. And because of all of the testing and questioning and things like this, I've had to develop the right answer, lest I walk into some social landmine or walk on eggshells because I have to say the right words or be labeled a fraud. Yeah, it's just really complex, and I was trying to make this simple, but I don't know if that's possible, hey? So from 1985 going forward, I remember comprehending and understanding that as one of the anointed in this covenant arrangement with Christ, I was acting as an ambassador. In fact, I used to say that from house to house. I used to say, I am an ambassador for Christ. And one elder said to me, no, you're not, Matt. You're an envoy. You're not an ambassador. I'm going, yeah, I am an ambassador. I know what I'm talking about. And he was saying, no. An envoy is one who has the hopes of living forever on earth. And of course, it just gets complicated from there because I'm going, yeah, I do understand that. I don't have a destination for the earth. I believe in heavenly destination. But that's the kind of obstacles I was facing as a young person in 1985, back then, and told that, Matt, as a young person, you don't fall into the 1935 category, or as a replacement, you're far too young for this. Little realizing that actually I did fit the profile quite precisely without contriving it. What an experience. But yeah, these hard experiences we have, I am a believer that there is a silver lining. I'm a believer that, when you're playing video games and you come across baddies and increasing difficulty, the chances are you're in the right direction, using that illustratively. And so the illustration applied to life is when you face difficulties, chances are you're in the right direction. So that's the silver lining. It's taught me a lot about people. It's taught me a lot about the religions. It's taught me a lot about high control and people and myself. So from that point of view, I believe I can take a lot of positive experience from this, although it's been hard as hell and embarrassing and difficult and perilous. Yeah. So I view myself, rightly or wrongly, agree or don't agree with me, I believe I'm an ambassador with imputed righteousness. Why? Because with the application of Jesus Christ's blood, this idea of an imputed righteousness means that though a person is imperfect, they can act as an ambassador for God's kingdom in such a way that their sins are forgiven, meaning that they can have a unique connection with the divine or supreme consciousness, or in Jehovah's Witness context, Jehovah, God himself. So I served in public capacities within the congregation. I served as an elder. I served in all sorts of roles. Served as a special pioneer, a Bethlite. Special pioneer is like a missionary. Although in Jehovah's Witness culture, special pioneer is kind of like a very low rank. It's bottom of the rung, and you have to be quite self-sufficient in many respects and enterprising in many respects. There's some kind of monetary support, but it's very, very low reimbursements. And when I was serving in Zimbabwe, there was economic collapse, so this idea of monetary support became, in effect, quite meaningless because, you couldn't draw money from banks, or when you did draw it, it was devalued. And in order to be special pioneers, we had to plant our own crops and build our own accommodation and make emergency accommodation. And yeah, it was very, very intense experience. Hard in many respects, but also good in other respects too. So yeah, I have a gratitude towards these things because it's molded me to be who I am today and to be able to speak like this freely and with conviction. So the issue I need to make very, very clear is I served as a Christian life and ministry overseer. I served in public talk committees. I served on assemblies marking information that was dispensed through assemblies. In other words, one of my assignments was to make sure that there was no deviation of information that was provided by the top tier governing body who are in charge of doctrine. So this would mean that I would sometimes have to talk to persons in high positions of authority or assignments within the religion, like a circuit overseer, for instance. So I would be put into that position by a circuit overseer, and I would be marking perhaps even that very circuit overseer's talk or dispensing of information. It meant I had to be respectful, humble in my presentation, non-offensive, and get to the facts. So yeah, taking a look at your talk outline, here it is. Yeah, there was a deviation, or why was that? You find out he had a different outline or an older outline, or he had an outline that was for a different region, for instance. That happened. And we would have to make necessary corrections or information that was faulty. Sometimes there has been printing errors. So that's come up. So I've had quite a bit of experience with that over the years. Yeah, a couple of decades. Yeah, a couple of decades. So it's only been this year that I've been ambiguously removed from my roles, booted out, without clarity. But we'll get into how I've been booted out and who witnessed that, and yeah, this is what I'm going to try and make clear. So in my congregation where I was assigned or reassigned in South Africa, though I'm a British citizen and also South African citizen, I was serving as, in my head and still in my head, as a local elder. And not just local, but a traveling elder or an elder in transit when the assignment called for it. Okay. I'm also a certified representative of Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, Pennsylvania and New York. I wrote exams, had it marked by a governing body, and was granted that certification. And the reason why that is important is it would give me access into all sorts of places. I could travel internationally. I could get into refugee camps and have access to places that other persons wouldn't normally have access to as a religious minister based upon this certification. Now, not every Jehovah's Witness has that certification. It's usually done through what is called the Gilead umbrella, which we were told was registered with the Ministry of Education in the United States of America. Which is very interesting because I have been told that how can an organization issue that certification? It would be unethical to do that. So how they've done it, I can see in my mind the very clever way that would be done. But there's a lot of question marks, very, very difficult things to ask and get answers about, like how long is that valid for? Yeah, there's a lot of obscurity about the legitimacy of these certificates, because sometimes they are valid and sometimes no, it's not valid. So it just depends on the purpose, I suppose, and how the religion may have a need and endorse that piece of paper or that certificate. So in one way, it might say, "Oh yeah, we need something accomplished," and they'll back it. And in another way, it might work against them for potential liabilities, and then they'll disavow. No, we don't know who this person is. We don't even regard this person as a Jehovah's Witness. So that can happen. So in South Africa, I wound up in a locale, instructed by a circuit overseer to come to this locale to set up different language congregations. One was in Shona speaking language. The other was in a Chichewa speaking culture. And simultaneously serve in an English congregation. So that was my last assignment. So what actually happened during my service in this local congregation? Well, a local elder instructed members or associates and community that corporal punishment was a valid and loving way to discipline children, and he did so in an authoritative way from the platform. Now, when did this happen? 3 years ago and more. It was documented, it was witnessed, and as a Christian Life Ministry overseer and as somebody who served on a panel and was currently serving to mark talks, I had a responsibility to contact the coordinator of the body of elders and the auxiliary counselor. So first of all, I contacted the auxiliary counselor and said, "Tell me, did you observe what I observed?" "Yes, I did." "Okay, do you think we should process this?" "Yes, I think it should process this." "Okay, let's process this thing with the coordinator." And that was some 3 years ago. Anyway, so I had pursued that over and over and over again, not just once, many, many times over a period of 3 years. And by that time, I was already wise to the fact that don't just converse about a particular problem, especially when there's a potential liability. And have backup with witnesses as well. Don't just stand alone, you're not going to get very far. So make sure that persons who've heard or witnessed what's gone on publicly, make sure you have their support before moving. And I made sure all those boxes were ticked. And I also made sure that I found out where the source information came from. Where did this idea come from? I spoke to the public speaker, to the elder. I said to him, "Where did you get this information?" And he says, "Oh, I got it from this outline, which came from the elders login, which is current on jow.org for elders." And sure as anything, went on there and I downloaded the exact same outline, compared it with older outlines and saw, oh, this hasn't been updated. This is the same outline we have been using since the 1990s. So it was a matter to bring up to elders. But at that time, already there was what I conclude obfuscation strategy. So whenever I had various problems, if I had detected that there was misprinted information, whatever, I've got to tell you, my own personal experience was I was going through hell with local elders where I was stationed in a couple of congregations. I found them falsifying information, just straight up lying and making up bogus claims. And I think this had already set in motion that Matt, you are not a popular character because You're not allowing these things to just go. You're not turning a blind eye to it. So if I had gone, oh, we're all pals and you can do whatever you like. If you want to just get drunk at an elders meeting, get drunk. If you want to abuse alcohol at an elders meeting and jump in your vehicle and go home to your wife at 12 o'clock at night, by all means, please do that. This is what was expected of me, in essence, was for me to turn a blind eye to hypocrisy. Okay, and I'm just going nuts with it and going crazy with the accumulating infractions of hypocritical elders who shouldn't actually have been elders, who were disqualified by their behavior. But as soon as you get cliques of elders that have the same kind of behavioral traits, they use democracy just to shut down the person who's spiritually aware, or just becomes a personal opinion, or it gets framed as, Matt, you've got grudges against your own brothers, or you are looking at little splinters in other people's eyes and you can't see that you're the rafter that's in your own eye. So as an elder, I basically felt that I had been rendered useless, sitting in elders' meetings, and I'm going, well, what's the point of actually sitting here if I'm asked to bring up spiritual observations and things like this? Well, I don't have a voice. Shut down. If I'm reading from a current article of what the standards are from an elder's guidebook or letter, they were not interested. In fact, they would very often interrupt me or say, this is apostate information. And I'm going, but this is current information. My microphone gets turned off or I get interrupted. And so there was all these kind of strategies, or limited time, or just some other issue. And now I'm having to defend my own character or defend some other issue that was just raised to distract. And it just became toxic. Just toxic and impossible. So, where am I? One of the elders gets up after many accumulating problems. And I've already been challenged about information control, and I've seen, these elders are going above the governing body. They're very ambitious. They want to serve on the circuit, and man, they are clamoring for positions. Not okay, I've got to say, in my opinion, and the service committee that I was serving in, we were observing that there wasn't a good element. Very ambitious elders coming in, seeing this as an easy territory just to climb I'm going to say, corporate ladder, if you want to look at Jehovah's Witnesses that way. So instead of serving, I want to say honestly and without improper ambitions. We had very ambitious people coming in who were very hostile. And already you can see, Matt, you are not on a good leg here, because you are just looking for conflict and you're looking for trouble with this kind of personalities. And the more transfers we had, I was swamped. And good elders swamped, overridden, lied about, false information suddenly appearing in the congregation files, and I could see. I was very careful with information, and I was saying, look, This information doesn't tally. We've got. Can you see that this has changed? Somebody has changed the file, and yeah, it would become evident. But they would go, "Well, Matt, you just got to let it go. We don't want to get involved in this." And so I didn't have the support that was necessary to, how can I say, uphold the checks and balances. And this happened over not just 3 years. I can say it steadily happened over about 25 years, just getting worse and worse and worse. And sometimes I'd feel like I was making headway, and actually not. That's the reality of the situation. And it just became overwhelming, the amount of things to try and deal with. And it all just became interrelated and out of control. And I got sick. I got really sick. In fact, I was so sick, I was resigned to die. I actually thought that it was my ticket out of here. I wasn't afraid. I just thought, okay, I've got hypoxia. And I remember my mental state going, I have made peace with the fact that I've served, and it's over. And because, with hypoxia, there's oxygen deprivation, if you want to say it was, I believe it was a mild hypoxia. That's what I think it was, although my doctor has got this various statistics and measurements and all that, and it has to come from a doctor how severe they feel it was or is. I had hypoxia, and I thought, okay, this is my ticket out of here. I'm done. And so I think because I was in that state of mind, and disorientated, I may have just created more damage for myself. I don't know, but it's been a very, very long process. I'm now talking. Up until recently, I couldn't even talk properly, but as you can see with my videos, I can now talk, and I can prove that to myself. Sometimes there's a strain. I can feel there's strain in my talking, but it's getting better and better and better. So that could be a couple of things: the hypoxia injury. There was also other underlying conditions which I haven't gotten into, but yeah, I feel like I am getting better and I'm getting stronger. And I do actually see a path to full recovery. I do see that. So coming back to our elder in the congregation where I was serving, he gets up on the platform and he says, "Hey, members and associates, corporal punishment is a valid and loving way to discipline children, though the law of South Africa says no. You can't do that. That's illegal." So at this particular stage, it should have been a simple matter to just go to that elder and get them to correct things. And so I approached that elder, spoke with them, and they showed me where they got the information from, and I could see, oh, it's old information. And it's information that goes against the governing body's own testimony, sworn testimony in court. And so I felt that I was upholding governing body policy. I didn't feel it was apostate, though they're telling me, oh, you're apostate, and implying it. And I'm just getting into more and more trouble, and I've got this democracy against me that is overruling me, and I'm going, but I'm hearing from genuine congregants that they are caught in double binds, and that the problem is actually our own body of elders. It's just getting rotten how people are getting spiritually oppressed and abused. And yeah. So it all came together, and I'm going, we got to start tackling these problems. So I spoke to this elder, and he didn't correct it, got defensive, basically said this document comes from the governing body. Yeah, so I was in trouble. So this elder was using his authority to reinforce it, even though it went contrary to Geoffrey Jackson. So in South Africa, other countries where I also have citizenship, or I can go and live in, like Ireland, for instance, corporal punishment of children is illegal. That's it. Can't do it. You've got to find another way to discipline the child as per what Geoffrey Jackson said to the Australia Royal Commission. So if a parent follows that elder's direction, what's the outcome? Well, they can face criminal investigation. There's a child harmed, their reputation harmed. Now they're explaining to police. And then the elder or leadership who's directed them or upheld their authority could also share liability. Now, I've spoken about South Africa law. I've been told, and I've mentioned this in other videos, South Africa law is a perfect law. This is how it's presented to me, meaning it's very good law. But in practice, in South Africa, don't expect that law to be upheld. Now, I have faced many perilous situations. I've faced peril here where I live. I've faced peril throughout Africa and my travels throughout the world. Okay, so I'm not unfamiliar with peril. I've been falsely arrested in different countries. Yeah, there's all kinds of extremes that I have faced homelessness, all sorts of things. So I'm familiar with peril. And I knew that this particular situation, I knew it was dangerous. I had Bible studies, and every time I revealed who those Bible students were, I believed deductively, right or wrong, that congregation leadership was going towards those people and scaring them off. So I would have massive amount of Bible studies in comparison to the local elders, zip, suddenly goes down. And I was alerted to it when my students were writing to me and they were saying, Matt, we cannot stay in this congregation. I go, why? They're going, your leadership is wacko. We don't agree with your leadership. Straight. And we'll tell you why. And my Bible students were giving me the scriptural reasons from our current literature as to why. And I'm going, I can't argue with you. You're spot on. Yeah. You're right on the dot. And so some of them felt like they were in peril and they had to move away. Now, in being truthful and honest I'm not trying to paint a saintly picture of myself. Hardly. Okay? I know I've got my faults, for major ones. But I have endeavored with a clear conscience to treat people as fairly as I possibly can as a human. And when all of this nonsense arose, congregants and loyal people have gone, we are not accepting what your elders say, or that you are such bad company that we will not work with you in ministry. We will work with you in ministry. You will continue as an elder, and you will continue as a pioneer, irrespective of whatever nonsense these people are saying. And I think that comes from, let's say, favorable season, where you've endeavored to be fair and people remember and it accumulates. So I'd like to believe that it's that scripture, you reap what you sow. Or if you want to talk about karma, you have people that say, yeah, we believe you, Matt. Oh, I've got some evidence. Yeah, we'll take your evidence. We believe you. We've got our own experiences. We believe you. We really believe you. And we're not about to let you just rot away and die. You'll continue ministry. You'll continue it discreetly. And so, yeah, I got all sorts of projects on the go. And I think that has helped me to, how can I say, speak with some conviction. Even if it's just for my own peace of mind and nobody ever knows about it. So I've got all of these projects on the go, and I think it's best I keep it discreet. But if I've ever challenged about my activities, preaching, setting up congregations, whatever, I've got that proof that's in place, which is really great, even if it's just for my own spirit or my own peace of mind. And that comes from incredible family and incredible friends. All right, so Geoffrey Jackson, member of the governing body, he testifies at the Australian Royal Commission that corporal punishment is not physical punishment, although it was in the past. So, this statement created a dangerous confusion. Local elders relying on older outlines, I think of outline 118, with an elder continuing to promote corporal punishment. So congregants were left in the middle. What's the clear direction? What's the clear instruction? Are we loyal to the governing body? The Australian Royal Commission isn't apostate information. It's been presented to service desk, and it's been presented to all kinds of persons within the organization. So it's not off limits. So it put people right in the middle going, we have a double bind or a catch-22 situation. Here's the governing body saying one thing. Here's a local elder saying another thing and waving around a document that he says comes from the governing body. What do we do? I say, well, keep current. How old is that outline? Old. A couple of decades old. And now we have fear factor that comes in. And cliques of elders getting together and going, yeah, we're going to shut this down. Don't worry. We will speak over Matt. We will discredit him. We will say he's a lunatic. It's not too hard to believe. And that's how we'll deal with it. So it creates this confusion. It was left uncorrected and exposed children to abuse and exposes parents to prosecution. Now, here's the other thing that scared the hell out of the elders. And I was told that I had broken confidentiality. Or copyright. That was another one. But I was saying, no, look, I am a skilled transcriber. I've been a transcriber for years. This isn't a doctrinal debate. It's not a question of personal opinion. It's about whether elders, leaders can tell parents to do something that's against the law. And then punish those who speak up about it. And so I made it clear, no, this is about silencing whistleblowers who are seen as now going against the institution. In fact, it was a gradual climb. It should have just been one-to-one with like this elder and correcting it, but it just climbed and got worse and worse and worse and more problems. And so it then became protection of the institute, which was the design. And this elder's going, my moral fortitude is protecting the organization rather than protecting children. And I'm going, if this is what you're doing just with corporal punishment, what about the more serious issues? This is terrible. This is diabolical. Okay, and it's giving persons who are seen as accusers or enemies of the religion or enemies of the institution, the so-called apostates, the so-called ex-Jehovah's Witnesses and enemies, you're giving them credibility now, because this is what they've been talking about. They've been saying that these policies or community are putting people in danger. And I'm saying, yeah, it looks like that. You got a problem. But I won't make that conclusion. I'll just say, let's get the facts out and let's discuss it. Let's do it respectfully. Let's do it transparently, and let's do it safely with accountability and all of that. Let's see if there's a solution. Nope. Don't want to do that. Keep quiet about it. We will distract. We will put it off. We will forget to put it on the agenda. We will confuse. Oh, just a mess. We won't answer the phone. We won't answer your mail. Now we're on holiday. Now we got to do work for the branch. It just became 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, months, years flying by. And so people were vulnerable. And I get sent videos of absolutely horrendous things happening in this area. Absolutely horrendous. Now, I can't talk about that openly because of the public forum, but I have imagery of the most awful things that have been recorded in this territory. Thankfully, some of it has gone to police, or the ones that were especially awful on those videos went to police, and I can say, well, however they dealt with it, that's their issue. At least it's gone to the enforcement agencies, whether they are effective or whether they're not. That's their business. So what has happened to loyalty? Loyalty has become a weapon. Confusing associates, members into actions that carry legal and ethical risks is what's occurred. Now, what's the personal cost to me? Well, speaking just of myself, not just of others that I see connected to this thing, it's been severe. I've been shamed, isolated, falsely branded, and my health suffered. My ability to contribute openly essentially limited and taken away. But I continue to speak and repeat about these same issues, even though things have been processed to the extent possible, because what has happened needs to be very, very clear. The governing body, the branch, have they issued public clarification about this matter? It's my question. Is it there? Do I stand down? Is corporal punishment endorsed or it isn't endorsed? What is it, folks? Because we can see the receipts. You have this information. We've got witnesses. We've got all kinds of records. That's very, very clear as to where this information has arrived. We know who's got this information. Wow. So, even if it's just me, I am aware, personally, of who is holding back or obfuscating process of this information. And if it's only just me, I am personally disgusted. Why am I personally disgusted? I am personally disgusted because I am left to deduce that this is hypocrisy, and that others who've come to me and said, Matt, we have got real serious problems. I go, I can't disagree with you. I am seeing the same problems you are telling me about, and worse. So yeah, look, you may be getting used to me getting all emotional on these videos. This video was late. I should have done it a couple of days ago, but sometimes I sit in this chair and I just go, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to, and I make myself do it. I go, I'm going to reach out, I'm going to speak up. I'm going to try and find allies where I can find allies, and I'm going to speak, and I'm going to get this out. But I also sit there just feeling exhausted. And that's the truth of the matter. I feel like there are other people who can do this job a lot better than I can. There's people with much clearer minds, much better resources. And so I go, what am I doing? It's people already know these kind of problems. So here's another video, folks, of me trying to clarify a complex situation. I personally feel an apology would have gone a long way, could go a long way, could be offered to those who raised concerns in good faith. I feel personally, in my own deduction and my own opinion, because that's all it is, that independent oversight is needed to review how these instructions are given and to prevent future harm. When you've got a branch that's now involved, or leadership that's now involved, or circuit overseers and governing body, and what a mess. And elders must be trained to understand, our 19-year-old elders, 20-year, all elders need to be trained to understand that local child protection laws, so that no family is ever misled again. And let me tell you, this isn't just one thing. I'm focusing in on this one because it just needs to be a start. If I bring in other issues, it just gets even more complicated. So I've decided, let's deal with this one at least. Let's stick with it. My appeal is very simple. Let's protect children. Let's protect, what am I saying? Let's protect children. Let's protect community. Let's protect those that want to sincerely practice the religion honestly. All right? who want to support the governing body, support genuine whistleblowers, respectfully demand transparency, and don't let loyalty to men override the safety of families and community. Now, in my producing notes, I raised this question, and my question is this: have I misunderstood this situation? When I'm chirping on about ethics, have I misinterpreted the law? How is this situation wrong? And so these are the notes that I'm going to go through here. Okay? Why is this situation wrong? Ethically. An elder is instructing a congregation and the public in a way that could cause real harm to children that's against the law. All right? Then the leadership comes along and punishes the one person or the few people that raise the alarm. Right? Instead of addressing the unsafe teaching. You go, oh no, we're removing you because of this, or we're doing because of that, or making stuff up. Did we get it wrong? Oh, shame. Sorry about that. There is no sorry, by the way. It's just, we're imperfect. It's all a plan. Right? I've got to say, it's my deduction that it's a plan. And so you label whistleblowers apostate until eventually you go, okay, I think I have to just embrace this term. Yeah. If I'm apostate, I am going to be the best apostate there can be on this planet. Because if being apostate is being like Jesus Christ, or being like Stephen, or being like one of the prophets of old that was labeled the bad guy when they're actually the good guy, I'm all for it. Bring it on. Okay? That's what it's got to be. Bring it on. Okay? Because that's where it's got to. You just go, or I just go, what's left? So labeling whistleblowers as apostate, I've seen it happen in the branch. Departments calling each other apostate, and I hate it. It's an abuse of power. I don't find it funny. I don't find it cute. I just go, it's an abuse of power. That's my conclusion. Tell me I'm wrong, folks. Somebody tell me. No, Matt, you are not seeing this correctly. All right. What's another way that this is wrong? It's wrong legally, or at least exposing liability, potential liability. Okay? So in South Africa, in Ireland, corporal punishment's prohibited. Right? You know, am I wrong on this? So when it's encouraged from the platform in an authoritative way, it exposes the parents, the elders, the organization to this possible prosecution. There's harm on all levels, to the children, to those that are enforcing it, all levels. And so when it's covered up, or there's a failure to clarify after receiving evidence, not just this year, 2025, when it happened again in writing on the Christian Life and Ministry in July, but after years of the same issue, all right, in writing, receipted, documented, checked with other people in in positions of leadership. Do you see this problem? What do you think? How do you think we should tackle it? I mean, careful every step of the way, right? When it's covered up after receiving that evidence, it makes the risk even greater. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, I've come to the point, how does this ever recover? And people are going, well, Matt, it's not going to recover. That's the point. It's finished. It's over. It's done. And I have this little thing in my head going, I want to see some kind of justice. I want to see it. I must be ranting. I am ranting. I know that. So it's wrong institutionally. Let me see if I can take it down a few notches. Matt the lunatic. So when there is a prioritizing of reputation and loyalty to governing body, institution over the safety of children, individuals, I look at it and I go, well, you're killing Christ again. The system's failing in its basic duty of care. And so elders knowingly reused outdated outlines. This isn't a mistake. This is knowing what is being done. Because the warning's there. This is, I want to say, criminal negligence. That's what I want to say. No? Am I wrong? Okay, right. What happened to me? I get ambiguously removed and I write in and I say, what are you guys doing? Please, can you explain to me what you are doing? I need to know, because have I misheard? So, yeah, my name's Mud. How my reputation comes back from this, I don't know. Yeah, so I'm like public enemy. And I go, what was I supposed to do? I was supposed to turn a blind eye to this, right? That's what it is. And in fact, what's my path to coming back? My path to coming back is, guys, you're all right. I've seen the errors of my way. Beat your child. This guy who gets up, yeah, you're correct. Every other elder, you all correct, guys. You know why? Because it's a democracy. You're all correct. This is Jehovah God's direction. Hallelujah. Praise God. Whoopee doo. Let's get on. Bring me the stick. Who can we beat today? Hey, come over here. You get your beating. Come. Hey, beating time. Beating. It's done with love. Hey guys, you see, I'm all involved. We're all pals here. I don't know. Does that sound ludicrous? I guess. I hope. It should sound ludicrous. It should sound insane. Is there violation of law? Yeah, but Matt, who cares? It's South Africa. It's like the Wild West. What? You think that this world isn't run by criminal cartels? You're living in a dreamland. Gaga land. So how do I now teach, and I've got students that I still teach. How do I teach students and say, oh, by the way, just follow what these guys do. Join the in crowd, join the clique, and just do what they do. I can't do that in clear conscience. I go to my students, I go, beware of this. All right? So I was trying to do this in a short way, and I've look at my notes and I go, give me a short, powerful way to do this. And I just can't. It's not in my capacity. Elders have created the problem. They cannot dictate the solution. Why? Because it's a conflict of interest. Right? How do I put this in other words? If somebody caused harm by giving unlawful or unsafe instruction, they can't credibly oversee the investigation or the solution. They can't do it. All right? And that's what our people are doing. Oh, no, we'll chair the meeting. Oh, we'll come up with the solution. And I'm going, no, you've got to now explain to police with police present because it's gotten so out of hand. We had the opportunity to come together. You blew it. Not once, not twice. You blew it so many times. I've been sitting there going, come on. Here's the solution. I'm going to write out the solution. We need to do this. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Here it is. You guys didn't acknowledge it. I'm going, the amount of mercy that's applied here, but we don't apply this mercy to congregants. But the amount of mercy that has gone on here and patience and spelling it out, it's, you can't say it hasn't been done. So my deduction, right or wrong, Matt, is their main interest is self-protection, not accountability. So I look at this and I go, well, let's look at the qualifications in Timothy and Titus. Disqualified, 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 disqualified. I can't recognize your authority because you've gone over and above. Yeah, if it was one mistake, yeah, but I mean it's other things. I can't get into it right now, but there's more, much more. You're going, well, Matt, this thing, it's kind of flimsy. There's more. I'm just going, let's focus on this one. Let's deal with this one, because if this is dealt with properly, at least it gives some pathway to be able to deal with the others that are going to come up. So when we allow elders or leaders to dictate terms, not only is it a conflict of interest, it almost guarantees that it's going to minimize or deny the problem. That's what's happening. Oh, your good faith isn't good faith. It's apostasy. And we're going to close down access and make your life a living hell. So, yeah, now we can say that you've crossed the border, you've done other things, and you definitely apostate now. Now we've made you really fulfill it. And I just go, this is entrapment. This is why I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted because I go, yeah, I see what you're saying. So you're in charge of all the privileges. You're the authority. And unless I agree with you, I am illegal in your eyes or in the theocracy. So anything I do now is just illegal. Yeah, you've put me into an impossible situation. If you've done that to me, what about all of these other... Oh. Ay, we gotta fix this. Please, we gotta fix this. This isn't just one religion. But I look at Jehovah's Witnesses and I go, this is a microcosm of society in so many ways. So these elders, they can't dictate terms. They lost their authority. If we apply what happened to others who were deemed disassociated by action. These guys disqualified themselves the day they falsified records. So they can't dictate terms. And you go, Matt, where's your evidence? I made sure I got the evidence. Now, the other day I had a bit of a fright because I went, ooh, am I destroying some of that evidence? Anyway, I realized my mind was playing games with me under the stress, but I've got the backup evidence and the backup, and the backup. It's not like I don't have evidence. I'm sitting with the evidence. Here's the evidence, guys. Got a brain? There you go. Use brain. Take a look at the evidence. There it is. You want to hear it? Here's the record. Oh, Matt, you can't have this. Do you want the truth? So lack of legitimacy. Justice requires impartiality, right? So if the same elders who caused the risk decide how to fix it, the outcome just can't be trusted. This is it. It's like asking the accused to be the judge in their own case. Think of some case, some high-profile case, and they are arrested, and you say, "Well, you be the judge." You know. So elders have framed the whistleblower with libel and slander, not once, many times. And so myself, I've been defamed, publicly branded, disloyal. So from my point of view, because that's the only way I can put it, Matt, it's only your opinion. Excuse me, they forfeited credibility in handling my protection. I am not safe. I face so much peril. So their repeated acts of slander over the years, it's not just unjust, it's dangerous. I am in harm's way, socially, spiritually, even physically. Have I been to court? I've been to court. I've made testimony. I've been subpoenaed. I've gone through this. Had my car vandalized. Not once, several times. Yeah, man. This is why I'm exhausted by this at times. And other times I'm also energized. This is the interesting thing. But, man, it's... So by doing this, what have we learned? I've learned that these are people that are motivated by image, control, not child protection, not fairness. I've got a whole bunch of names that are coming into my head. Lying, stinking, pharisaical, self-righteous, pedantic liars. What is it? Christ comes up, offspring of vipers. And I don't know. I think those are the polite words. So on witness protection or isolation, elders who have already demonstrated bias can't be trusted to decide whether the whistleblower should be isolated or denied protection. What are we talking about? You're going to do me favors? Oh, we love you. Yeah, right. In any legal or ethical system, witness protection cannot be managed by the accused party. So you've got some, let's say, gangster boss. Oh, please can you afford me the protection because I'm going to testify against you. Are you crazy? Are you mad? In what world does that work? So protection has to come from an independent authority. And by the way, they've got to earn trust as well because you don't know if they're bought. You don't know how they're involved. So it's got to be an independent authority. Police, courts, neutral oversight. Because insiders have just too much incentive, too much control to silence and punish the witness. I mean, I've had my personal things rooted through. I haven't reported to you what's happened since the last videos. I think that's also been part of the delay. I haven't reported the dangers. And I'm loath to do it because if I start telling you the stories of the things that have been happening, I look at myself and I go, man, I'm going to watch this video and it sounds wacko, you look wacko, and your story is, it's going into real wacko land. People close to me harmed. And I look at it like a warning shot across the port bow. Heave to, we're going to board your ship. So all I can do, how do I put this? I had a relative. I believe I've worked out what happened. Okay. Yeah, just harm. Harm that came to this relative of mine. Another relative of mine close to me, harm. And I can't talk about it because it's just too much detail out in the public sphere. I can't talk about it. But I've got the evidence. I can see this is what has occurred. Right? This isn't made up stuff. We can see this is what has occurred. Have I had my data hacked into? It's another one. I've had alerts. I've had scares. This isn't the first time this has happened. So people say, Matt, you realize that you put yourself into more danger by doing this. I'm going, Matt, for goodness sake, I've been in danger for years. What's the difference? I was resigned to die. So is that the issue? I think the lone wolf situation of going, okay, well, you don't fear death, that makes you even more dangerous. I think I've surpassed it. I don't intend to die. I like being alive. I enjoy life. I enjoy a good meal. I enjoy love, joy, good friendships, meaningful friendships. I've got a passion for life. Yeah, I've had my stuff hacked into. Oh, what was another thing I had happen? I had somebody take my private information without my permission. Now, they know who they are. Okay? I have a certain toleration with it. If people make mistakes with it, yeah, fine. Then come forward and apologize, be honest. Right? Be transparent about it and I can let it go. But when it is weaponized and you're using AI to create imaginary situations that didn't happen, I go, you crossing a line here in this situation. Right? So I believe there's somebody on my channel that's watching this. You know who you are. If you've made a mistake, fine, I let it go. If you've weaponized it, may you reap what you sow. Okay? Yeah. Yeah, these pauses, I have to pause, eh? But I don't want to interrupt the stream. So, am I in like a no man's land? Am I in some sort of purgatory? Yeah, I guess so. But then we've got to fix this for whistleblowers. I think this is a worthwhile thing to pursue. Okay, those are the punished for exposing real dangers. We've got to fix this. Okay, if humanity is going to move forward, and I positively believe it will. I believe we're going to fix this, right? We're going to fix this losing livelihood. We're going to fix this disempowerment thing that comes with little practical protection or unjust, precarious situations that become urgent, that need safety steps, strategic outreach. Yeah, getting hold of consulates, getting hold of, even pro bono legal aid or neutral journalists, just reaching out to people. I've endeavored to do that. I've kept myself busy with really great projects, things like this. I don't want to talk about them too much because, yeah, they precious, eh? They precious because it's important to keep functional. It's important to keep creative, have passion projects, keep building with, good things to the extent possible in a lousy crap situation. Use my friend. And then that overcomes being punished, publicly removed or ambiguously or whatever. Why? Raising child safety, raising these concerns, going to police, going to authorities. Even if those authorities are reluctant or got their hands tied or absent or just it moves so slowly, that's another thing that happens. So, yeah, it's important to have good projects on the go in the meantime. Excuse me. So, yeah, try and undo the isolation. Very, very important. And important to preserve all evidence. Have multiple backups, secure copies, getting legal help where you can, being accepting where you can't, but not giving up. Trying to reach out to third parties, lawyers, journalists, NGOs, whatever. Keep all your documents handy. Keep everything recorded. The essential information. Keep the dates. Keep the times. Keep the receipts. Keep the copies. Keep a personal safety plan going, right? Avoiding isolating situations. Okay. So informing trusted neighbors or friends that this is where I'll be located and documenting threats and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, what a way to live, eh? What are some of the preservation checklists to go through? Practical, technical, simple things. Make 3 copies of everything I see here in my notes. Original media, keep it safe. Make local encrypted stuff. Keep it on a USB drive. Use a cloud. Have 2 different cloud providers if possible. Email a copy to yourself. Open different email accounts. It's all that kind of stuff, eh? All these practical things. Email timestamps. Establish your chronology. Try and keep it all in one stream so that it's all together. Create PDFs of written correspondence. Scan it. Courier receipts. Scan paper documents. For audio or video, convert it to common format, MP3, MP4, so people can see it easily. Store the original recording, note the date, note the time. It's a hell of a lot of work, eh? Put it all with third parties. Have a lawyer if you can. A couple of friends, reputable journalist. Don't rely on a single person. Don't rely on a single package of information. Yeah. And if you feel threatened, go to the police. If you feel threatened again, go to the police again. If you get threatened again, go to the police again. Don't ignore it because you feel like you're just being a pain. If police start getting dismissive, talk to their superior commander and keep a written record of names, times, all that. Right? And I think that just about does it for this video. So thank you very much for listening. I appreciate you being here. Again, take this thesis with antithesis for synthesis, healthy, skeptical outlook, essential critical thinking in listening to my testimony. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for your support. And let's move forward in a way that solves these kind of agonies, eh? And by the way, in my heart of hearts, I think we're getting there. I really believe that. I think we are getting there. So despite the rant and raving and the lunacy and all this kind of stuff, I actually think that this has reached a threshold that it's going to get better. So thank you again for accompanying me. This is Matthew Mile Gray signing off. Go well.